And obviously, being at Toulon at that time, from an English perspective, everything was about Johnnie. Obviously, it probably wasn't quite the same in France, but you mentioned it earlier on that he was the golden boy for Mourad, for everyone. Was that great for the rest of the guys, because the focus was all on Johnnie? And what was it like sharing a dressing room with him? What was he like as a leader, bossing you around?
Oh, he was. I can't imagine. Like he said, I was watching him on TV. Then I had a chance to play with him, play with England, and it's one of those guys in the changing room that you just for the first like 10 minutes when you get in the change, you just stare at him. You don't know what you're staring at, but you're just staring at him, thinking like, "Oh, this is Johnnie."
Can you give us a bit of an insight? Because obviously things have changed massively over that time. When you arrived, in terms of an environment and the players you were with, from your expectations to what you got there and what you saw, what was it like?
Well, it was, for me, it was, wow, it was an experience. I turned up, some of these guys I used to watch on TV, and I'll be like, you know, it's one of those guys you say you'll never play with. And it was just, I don't know how to explain it. It was just like turning up. I just sat in my corner. I didn't say anything for the first like couple of months because I just wanted to keep my head down. Because they had superstars everywhere in every single position. And I think at that point, I knew already at that point, like if Mourad wanted to get rid of you, he'd get rid of you. So it's one of those, just keep your mouth shut and just listen and follow the other guys. So it's a daunting place to go to Toulon, because as you can see how many players have come in who's gone through and not stayed very long and just gone on to different clubs. So for me, it was just all about just getting there and just, and as I said before, it's just trying to give them no excuse not to play me and to train hard. It just came down to like training hard, pushing everyone else and learning off the best. I had like Joe Vinnie Kirk, Chris Masoe, Juan Lobe, Joe Lab. I had all these players to learn from. So it kind of helped in a way because it pushed everyone together. We had like a massive, there was no ego with anyone there, even though there was so many international caps. It's just one of those places that everyone tried to help everyone. We became a massive family straight away, I think.
You mentioned him there, Mourad Boudjellal. You're laughing already. So you obviously did stay. You stayed a long time. So he obviously liked you. But I mean, how did he woo you to start off with, and then how did that relationship develop with him? Were you close?
Funny story about that. Not really. Well, he's pretty much. Well, if you're not South African, like you're not his number one, or Johnnie, you're not his number one. But funny story about Mourad, because first of all, he didn't want me. I got picked by Philippe Saint-André because we did that Midi Olympique. What year was it? It was in 2014. I got some award for Midi Olympique, and so everything's gone through. They gave me a couple of prizes, and then Mourad took the microphone at the end to give a speech, and his start of the speech was, well, Steffon Armitage, I never really wanted you. I wanted James Haskell. And I was like, whoa. Everyone in the crowd was like, oh, thank you. This is meant to be like, you're meant to be saying well done to me, but you just like, okay, you wanted James Haskell. And it was just one of those things with Mourad. He will say whatever's on his mind, and he doesn't mind who's in front of him, and that's the way he is. So I kind of tried to stay out of his way, to be honest, for the 6 years I was there.
All right, I've got to say something now, because you guys are being way too nice. I mean, he's made 20,000 people week in, week out in Clermont have nightmares. Yeah. He's basically bursted my heart a couple of times, made me want to commit suicide 100 times. You've been too kind, but you are being humble, because you said that you were almost like starstruck. But you were killing it. Huh? You rocked up in that Toulon team, and from the start, you guys were all killing it. It was a monster team that was in front of us, because I was mainly on the receiving end. But what my question to you is, so I honestly, I hated you boys. I hated you boys for a long time, just because the pain that you inflicted.
I think the feeling was mutual.
Absolutely. But then the reality is, once you start knowing, like a guy like Fred Michalak that I know pretty well. Yeah. So when he tells you, for instance, we can talk about it later, but even how your brother, for like a silly little reaction, became sort of a hatred of French rugby and especially of Clermont. Then if Fred Michalak tells me, listen, I'm telling you, off the field, he's a top dude, that means he's a top dude. That's all it means. Yeah. I do believe that the one of the reasons why that reaction was so harsh is because everybody was jealous of Toulon. You guys were smoking everyone. Yeah. So, you love to hate the ones who are good, basically. Yeah. You want to love the underdogs. And because he wasn't French, and because he was against the pretty, how do you say that? Like almost the pretty bride, Clermont. People, they want us. There. Of course, always there, but never. There. So that's my first question. The second question is, again, from Fred. Is it true that there was a sort of you guys used almost Mourad, like, let him do his his show, let him do his thing, let him do his crazy press conference. At least nobody's bothering us, and you guys concentrate on having a big brotherhood and rocking it every Saturday. And then, but even the big boys would be like, the example was he does a pilu every time you guys won big games in the changing rooms. And even a guy like Johnnie Wilkinson, who's probably like the classiest dude you could find, would be like, just let him do his thing. Okay, he's done. All right. Can you leave us now? Okay, good. And then he would actually talk.
Yeah, I think with that, especially with Mourad, is kind of, we knew he was always going to be there. Like, he was always going to be the changing room. So just keep him happy, let him do what he's got to do. And it's true, like no one else bothered us. So he takes all the thing, whether we're playing well or not. He will take everything. He'll go in front of the media. He will talk. He'll do all this stuff on social media and stuff like that. So in a way, it helped us to become a better team because we didn't have to worry about that. But it's true, like some of the guys, we would think, oh, is he going to go? Like, why is he still stood there? We want to kind of do our own thing with us, just the boys. But he's just one of those guys, like you couldn't really say no to him because you don't know what reaction you're going to get. It's like you back a lion up in the corner, you don't know what you're going to get. He's going to attack us somehow. So we'd rather just leave him to it.
And if he's always lurking like that in the change room, is he like that on nights out as well? Is he there like in the background thinking?
Oh well, we've only actually had him like once on a night out, and he just actually was in Paris. It was in Paris after one of the finals, before he went to bed with both trophies. He just ended up buying a whole load of bottles for the boys, and then he took off and went to bed sleeping with both trophies. So that's the only time that's the only time we don't really spend time with him, to be honest, which is good.
Fair play. Is it also true that Mourad once left you all in Oyonnax?
Oh, he wanted to. Well, so yeah, it wasn't our best game, and he told our team manager, he was like, cancel the plane. They're not getting. He was like, cancel the plane. I'm not paying for the plane to get home. And we were like, hold on, how are we going to get home? And it was like, you take the bus or the train. It's like, that's miles away. Catching a bus from Oyonnax or a train. We've got no tickets. We've just got all our stuff. So it was like, oh. So the team manager, everyone like kind of stuck up to the team manager. Like, you can't do it. We've got to take. So we end up taking the flight back. And like all the team manager and the other guys, they got called into the office. And he was like, I don't want you guys at the club anymore. You guys could go. And that somehow got sorted out. I don't know how it got sorted out, but he was deadly serious about leaving us in Oyonnax. It was snowing as well. It was cold. He is a special guy.
So, I mean, he was a special guy, but obviously as a coach for your time at Toulon, you had Bernard Laporte. So just talk to us a little bit about, I mean, obviously he's been a politician, he's been a national team coach, he's at Toulon. There were obviously rumours that Johnnie led most things, Matt Gitto led most things, but just talk to us about Bernard Laporte and what he was like as a coach and as a man as well.
Okay, so Bernard as a coach, to me, still one of the scariest looking person I've met. Like a bald head, small glasses. He looks like one of those nutty professors. And I've always said it. And every time he gets mad, he gets like a red vein. He gets a red vein that pops out his head. It's just like the most freakish thing ever. But he wasn't, as a coach, he was quite good to us. So he always put it from the start. It's like, if you guys train hard, you play hard. Like, listen, you guys could do whatever you want. But the moment that you guys don't perform on the weekend or you don't put your hand up, then we're going to have words. So most of the time that drove everyone to actually give their best every single time. He was quite hard on the Frenchies, on the French boys. He gave them a lot. Let's put it that way. He had a few crying boys every now and then at training, but for us, he wasn't too bad because maybe I don't know. He just liked us more. I think the foreigners.
Just imagine the type of character that you needed to coach a squad like that, huh?
Oh yeah.
I mean, he will never. I don't think he ever taught you anything in your tackling technique or even strategy in general. But like you said, he's the only guy you would never take the piss out of.
No,
he would walk into a room and he would scare the Bakis Bota to the Johnnie and whatever. But imagine the quality of squad. Do you reckon any coach would rock up and explain to them how to do things? No, but you need to have a big set of balls enough, basically, to rock up and to actually, keep them under control. Considering Toulon is a hell of a place to actually live. On top of that, and it's and it's an eccentric sort of town, so that's why the fit was just so good. You needed the crazy guy to be on top and to let the monsters in the middle sort of do their thing.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, and that's what he did most of the time. So he knew he put quite a lot in our places when we needed to, and like even coming in after doing a long bus trip from Clermont. I think we lost to you boys, and we took
the ones.
And we took the bus back, and we got back. I think we got back at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and he was like meeting at 8. We were like, hold on, wait, we've just come off the bus. He goes, I don't care if you guys are not happy, you could go play for Kakaran, which is a team around the corner. We're like, whoa, this is okay. So everyone rocked up. It was like, oh, and he just literally started pointing. Your shit, just everyone. He goes, you guys should not be playing. And then like occasionally someone will start laughing and he'll be like, oh, if you want to go last, you could go play for La Seine or someone like that. Because they want you, I don't want you. I was like, whoa, okay, it's just... And then that's at the point that everyone just started looking at the ground. I was like, oh my God, why he rants for like he'll just go off for like half an hour saying how rubbish everyone is. Sometimes we needed it because it worked, and the week after we won, so it worked most of the time.
I always remember when I was in the French team with Pascal Papé, and when they walked up into the tell me if it reminds you of Bernard Laporte, but we walked up into the team room, and he wasn't coach at the time, but he was just there hanging around, and he was there with the scrummaging coach. He's like, Pascal, come and push this fridge. I said, what are you talking about? Just push this fridge. And Pascal Papé starts, just gives a little fridge, a nudge to the fridge. He looks at the scrummager, goes, see, feet not on the same line. That's why he's shit scrummager. And then just left the room. Those are the little mind games that he would play with you out of nowhere. You just come in to say hello, and the guy's like, just push a fridge. It's fine. Just push a fridge. And bang, and just abuse you with everyone. And then would fuck off and do his own thing.
Yeah, that is 100%. That's 100%. And he did it with don't get me wrong, he did it with nearly everyone. Did it with Bakis as well, like just like, well, I don't know. Well, he said he was joking, but I don't think he was joking. Some of the things he would say to Bakis, because then Bakis would give him a look. It was like, oh, okay, maybe not. Let's just like walk away. But yeah, he loves to take the piss out of the guys, and like he'll give as good as he takes, to be honest.
Yeah. You mentioned before that team that was so successful at that time, it was like a brotherhood. There was a close bond. So given that they were all such superstars, like, how was that bond forged? Was it done artificially? Like, was something done, or was it just naturally?
I think it was just naturally, because most of the guys came over and they wanted to show. Because if you look at quite a lot of the players, they came when it was coming near or nearabouts near the end of their careers, a couple of years. So most of them wanted to prove to everyone that they still had it, and so they were like going out. Not like quite a lot of people saying we were mercenaries and stuff like that, but that's not at all what it was. We actually wanted to play, and we came out and we gave everything like 100% every time. And it was just all about not letting down the guys. You look up to these guys, and that's the thing with Bakis, who was like, I want to lead the way, because I know there's thousands of kids who want to be in my position, who look up to me as me being their inspiration. So by me not going out there every single game, every single training session and giving 100%, it means I'm a letdown, and I don't want to be a letdown. I've got kids, so I can't do that. And it's just the same, and that actually got passed on to everyone. So everyone was kind of the same thing. They're doing it for the guy next to you because you don't want to let those guys down. It was like when you take someone's place in the team, it was, yeah, you've trained better. You train better than maybe you played a better game than them. So if you train harder and you play a better game, you don't want to take their place and then not perform, because that means you're letting down that guy who wants to play as well. So it's just kind of a thing where you're always pushing to be the best, and also having Mourad in your back saying, I could bring someone else in at your place if you don't perform. So that was always on everyone's mind anyway. So that was another factor that helped you push to gel quite quickly.
In spite of that pressure, though, that was on your shoulders, I remember speaking to Roy Lamont, who's out there with you as well, with Joe Van Niekerk, and he said, as a group, you had a good laugh. Like, you were also a good bunch of mates. As much as it was this pressure cooker, and when you arrived at Mayol, it was absolutely mental and a great place to play rugby. But those boys also explained away from the pitch on like a Tuesday night, you also managed to go out, have a few beers, like Tuesday night club. You had a good group of friends and you had a good time together.
Yeah. Should I be saying this? Yeah, Tuesday. Tuesday, and like that's when we first came out. They said Tuesday was like it's like a casual day. You could have a couple of beers. Day off on Wednesday. You just relax. And what do you do? There weren't much around in Kakaran, so we were like, okay, we'll all go have a couple of beers and just enjoy it. Like, and most of the time it'll be everyone. Like, everyone will turn up and we'll all be together. Like, when we're not training, we always try and do some things together, like barbecues, or like we used to have like go-karting leagues and stuff like that. So it's like loads of different things that we actually did to make sure that that we know each other well enough to be able to say like we're brothers. Because some places, like, I'm not like, some different clubs, is kind of, you could tell that there's a divide in the team, and that's what we didn't want at Toulon, and we tried to do everything together.
And given Johnny's mentioned the Tuesday night club now, there's a couple of names around that time that were in that squad. They've retired now, so you can talk about them. We'll say that you had 2 beers and went home, but the likes of Martin Castrogiovanni, Drew Mitchell, there's a few others. Go on, talk to us. There must be some stories.
Well, I'll tell you one. Like, one of my really good mates, Dean Schofield. So after we finished our finals, after we won the double in Paris, we got the plane back, and they were setting up a parade where you take the boat, the bus, and you go to the mayor's office, and like, you just celebrate. There was like 100,000 people in the streets. They closed everything, and we got back, and everyone was like, "Oh, we'll just go get change our t-shirt." But myself and Dean Schofield decided to go for one drink before we went home. And French people, being French, like, we won, so they started just giving us drinks after drinks. And then, obviously not checking the time, looked up on the TV, and I was like, Scoey, it's good, that thing last year. It's awesome, isn't it? Like, and they're coming in, they're coming in on the boat, and I was like, yeah, that's awesome. And then he looks at me, he's like, why does it say live on the TV? I was like, oh my God, looked at the time. It's like, oh my God, we missed the bus, we missed the boat, and then missed the mayor's office. So we're like, oh my God, how are we going to get there? There's no taxis. And then we walked outside, and there's this, where we were, it's like in the Place de Toulon, where there was like 70,000 people waiting. We're like, oh, what's going on here? And then the bus pulled up. So the bus pulled up. We just literally just ran and just got behind everyone, and then got on stage, and everyone was like, where the hell were you two? We're like, had no idea. So we missed the whole thing. It was just, and apparently it was a great experience. I got videos there, so it's all right.
And I was going to say, like, that was the celebration after you'd won the title. So, I mean, if you look at all the stuff that you won while you were at Toulon, 3 European Cups in a row, the top 14 title. I know there was a lot of talk about the top 14 being the kind of holy grail, but was there one that stood out above the rest for you of all the titles?
Definitely for me, it was the Heineken Cup, because that shows who's the best in Europe. And you get to play, it's like in France, obviously you get to play against top world-class players week in, week out. But then you get, in the Heineken Cup, you get that every day, 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks on, and then a few weeks off. But you actually get to show yourself and get up against all the other internationals, which to me was more important. Like the top, don't get me wrong, the top 14 it's an amazing competition, but being an Englishman, like the European Cup, it's always been up there.
So I want to pick up on something you just said, being an Englishman. So I want to step back. You were really humble a minute ago when you were talking about the awards that you won in 2014, and like you were obviously European Player of the Year as well, which was insane. But at that time, you still weren't being picked up by England. And I wanted to ask you, what were the conversations that were going on behind the scenes that obviously we didn't get to see or didn't get to know about, in terms of the coaches you were talking with, the national setup with England? What was actually happening? How much dialogue was there back and forth with you in the English setup?
Well, they weren't pretty much, they didn't really, we had, who came out, one of them came out to see me. Was it Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka came out to see me in Toulon, and he came and he wanted to speak to myself and my brother together. So I knew it wasn't going to be like anything. If you want to speak us together, it's because we're complete different players. We're not in the same position, or we're not in the same place. So, and he just told me by then, like, I have to come back to England if I want to play. And he asked me, what did I think about it? And I pretty much told him, I feel like you guys told me to go away to become a better player. And I did that. And I still think I'm improving. I still think I've got a lot to learn. And by being out here, I'm getting better and better. Every training session, every time I play, I'm getting better. So why would you want to take that away? Why would you want to take that away from me? And so he just agreed, and he just took off. He just went back. I didn't hear anything. And then I've got a phone call from like obviously the RFU, Bath and Toulon. They were organising for me to go back to Bath for 6 months to play in Bath, so I could be. And obviously, when it comes down to that, then it comes down to money. But I wasn't involved with any of this. That's the thing. That's the funny thing about it. This was all happening between both managers of Bath and Toulon. So I didn't really have much of a say in anything that was going on. But at one point, my wife did pack my bags for me to leave to go to Bath. So
she was staying though, but you were off.
Yeah, she was staying. She was gonna pack up and just enjoy the sun and pack up the house. But do you know what I mean? It was just one of those. It's that I was never really involved. Everyone else was talking about it behind, like, without me. They were trying to sort things out without me, like without me having a say. And it was a stressful time. But listen, I've got no regrets. So.
Oh, I can't believe, honestly, that top coaches would not take in consideration just your pure happiness. Do you think you can just pick up a bloke and then drop him in Bath and you'll play identically? You were renowned in France because you were incredible over the ball. But you have to admit that in France, it's a national sport, the rucks, you know? So you can actually have a crack and have a go. Yeah. So it fitted perfectly what you did. Then you had sort of the guys in Toulon that would do the other stuff for you, but they just told you, listen, make an absolute clusterfuck of all the rucks of the opposition. Yeah. That was obviously what you were exceptionally good at. And they sort of fitted. But there's also your happiness, just like you said. You enjoyed the Tuesday night. You enjoyed the lifestyle. You enjoy the vibe around the team. Do you I think it's incredibly reductive just to be like, right, well, you're doing this now. Now we can just pick you up, drop you somewhere, and expect you to do precisely the same thing, especially behind your back.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Yeah. And to me, one of the main things as well is obviously like, when we first came out to France, so my missus left her job and stuff like that to come out of it, and I couldn't. Do you know, I can't just do that again, just to pick up again and then move back on a like a hunch. Maybe I might play, maybe I might not. And as you said, like, the lifestyle in France is different. Do you know, we love it out here. Just the way how life is. It's not so rushed that you get in England. The training is not as, it's different. Let's play that way. You know it, being at Leicester, you know the difference. And Yeah, they look after you here in France. Not saying they don't look after you in England, but I'm just saying it's different. Yeah, I just enjoyed my rugby here, and I was loving rugby because when I left England, I pretty much got to the point where I kind of fell out of love with rugby when I left London Irish, and coming over to France just changed everything. I actually started loving rugby again. I loved going to training, but just being in that thing, you being after training where you sit in the changing room and you're just chatting with the boys and stuff like that. It's you get that feeling. When you don't love it, you just want to get to training. You leave straight away. You wake up in the morning, you're sad, and that's what I was getting when I was London Irish my last year. And over here, it's just I just loved it too much. I think to actually really consider actually going back to England.
And can you see why that rule, obviously everyone knows why that rule is in place, but when you're kind of the center of that and all the headlines are around you, you're the most high profile example really of them trying to drag you almost back to England. Like at that time, can you see why it's like that? Or are you so frustrated and you're thinking that this is a global game and players should be allowed to play abroad?
Yeah, I think it's a global game. Everyone should be allowed to play where. What do you think? Because quite a lot of people think straight away, oh, your first thing that you're going to France is because you're chasing the money. That's not at all what it is. Yeah, okay, there is a lot of money. But when I first, for example, when I first moved over, I moved on the same money I was on London Irish. I moved there because of challenge. They told me I was going to be number 4. I was going to be number 4, number 7. So that means I had to wait. I had to wait my time. But I was like, okay, that's a challenge for me. Do you know what I mean? This is something you're lifting up. You're taking your whole life and you're moving across country. Whether it works or not, so many players have come over and it's not worked out, and they've come back and they just hated it. Look at Gethin Jenkins. He was like he was like my mate, and he was like one of the best props in the world. He came over, and it just wasn't his thing. He played a few games, but it just wasn't. It didn't suit him. Hence why he went back. But there's not just him. There's a lot of players that happen to, and we should be credited for actually taking a taking a chance to actually come out there and fight for something. And like, I'm not the only one. Nick Benjamin as well. He's been outstanding at Clermont. He was outstanding for like 4 years straight. Every single game that he played, he was outstanding. But he was in the same position as me. So it's like we had a couple of conversations about it, and yeah, we both found it really hard. It was more frustrating than anything, because we just thought like, not saying we were the best in that position, but everyone that they put in front of us who they thought was better in that position, we gave them a good game, or we were superior to them. So it was just frustrating to know that all the hard work you're doing, it doesn't pay. In a way, it doesn't pay off.
And you mentioned the conversation with Stuart Lancaster. First of all, did Eddie Jones ever get in touch after he became England coach? And then with that conversation with Stuart and with other coaches maybe, or people at the RFU, did they ever kind of take your point of view across the way that you're telling us now? And was there any kind of dialogue? Did they get what you were saying, or was it just the door's shut unless you're back in England?
Yeah, it was pretty much the shut. Like, they don't want to make any exception, and which, do you know what I mean? They said like, you've made your bed, now sleep in it. So I was like, okay, yeah, I will become a better, and as I said before, I tried to give them no excuse not to actually play me, not to pick me, and well, it's obviously they still had that one. So, but listen, it made me who I am. It made me who I am now, and in a way, like, I kind of got to say thank you to them as well. Do you know what I mean? In a way, because it has helped me to become a better player.
I was going to ask to tag on that, Steph. I remember reading that you were quite close to actually changing allegiance. You'd obviously talked about having a huge affinity for France, the lifestyle here, the people. And at one point, there was reports, Chris Massoy wanted to get back, play Pacific Islands rugby, Joe Rokokoko, and potentially you as well were looking at trying to play for the French team. Was that something that seriously crossed your mind? Were you exploring it at the time?
No, because, well, Bernard Laporte, obviously, he said like, maybe I should, because you deserve to play international rugby, and And at that point, it was just like, it was kind of like, oh yeah, do you know, one of those after having a couple of drinks, yeah, why not? So
Tuesday.
we did actually start the thing, because I wanted a French citizenship anyway, because obviously living in France and stuff like that. But and I looked back on everything, and it was like my greatest honor in rugby is having played for England with Dylan at Twickenham together for my first test. So by me going away and playing for a different country, that means nothing. So that it was a thing that just went one in here and what straight out the other. It was never a thing where, oh, this is going to happen or we want this to happen. It was just like people gossiping about should he or should he not. I'm glad I didn't pursue that, because as I said, like those 5 caps still means a lot to me.
And obviously, being at Toulon at that time, from an English perspective, everything was about Johnnie. Obviously, it probably wasn't quite the same in France, but you mentioned it earlier on that he was the golden boy for Mourad, for everyone. Was that great for the rest of the guys, because the focus was all on Johnnie? And what was it like sharing a dressing room with him? What was he like as a leader, bossing you around?
Oh, he was. I can't imagine. Like he said, I was watching him on TV. Then I had a chance to play with him, play with England, and it's one of those guys in the changing room that you just for the first like 10 minutes when you get in the change, you just stare at him. You don't know what you're staring at, but you're just staring at him, thinking like, "Oh, this is Johnnie." It's like, he's my mate. He's my mate. How many people can say that? And it's just like seeing the way how he prepares himself, like every single time, the routine he goes through to show everyone how actually professional he is and how he is just driven every single time. It's actually amazing. Like his speeches actually get you up. It's like, whether sometimes when it's French and English, he gets a bit mixed up and you have a little giggle, but you know what he's saying, and like he gets everyone fired up. And most of the time it's like, because everyone loved Johnnie and everyone respected him so much. It's like every time we went out of the game is one of those, I don't want to let Johnnie be angry at me, so I've got to play my best game. I know it's weird saying that, but it's Johnnie. Come on, he kicked the drop goal for England to win the World Cup, so it's you got to give it to him. Nah, he's a top bloke, and like he's got the full backing of the whole. He's got a full backing of the whole team, and he's the one who led most of the training session in the backs, because of what can you teach him? That is the thing. That's why I sit back now and say, what can you teach those players? Like the players like Carl Heyman, Johnnie, Becky's. And you were right when you're saying, like, to get a coach to come in and try and coach us. They were coaching us, those players. So Johnnie was leading that in front of everyone.
You can't even teach him to tackle.
No, because he tackled
even that
everyone.
He does well.
He was teaching me how to kick though, so I find myself a good kicker now, so it's all right.
Johnnie obviously had a special relationship with Matt Giteau when he was there as well. And was that kind of, obviously you spoke about Johnnie leading everything, but I think Matt Giteau has spoken about it in the past, about how it was perfect for him because Johnnie did everything and Matt was the freedom. But I mean, in terms of being a forward with those two behind you, I mean, it must be the perfect situation.
Yeah, it was brilliant, to be honest, and especially being at number 8 as well, where I get to give them the ball most of the time. It's like Johnnie is the safe guy, the guy who he will always make his tackle. He'll put the ball in the right position, and then you've got Giteau who will just out of the blue just do something crazy. And so having that relationship to know like how they work together, because they knew each other back to back. Like they know each other, how they play, and it's that's why most of the time, like when they played together, it was frantic, but it was controlled. It was controlled frantic, if that makes sense. So, and that's most of the time when like things worked for us, because we needed things to be a little bit disorganized. But then again, we needed someone to tell us, hey, stop. Now we go. So it was having those two there. It was actually awesome. And we had Fred Michalak as well, who's a complete different player to both of them. So the name goes on, like, by the way, 10 and 12.
You can see Benjamin's face.
Yeah, but they're the only team who already had all those guys, and they played us in 2015 Champions Cup final, and they only chuck in Juan Hernandez last minute as medical joker. I'm like, come on, that's just taking the piss. He was like, and he's a hell of a player who can play any position. He's the best player I never played with Johnnie and all that. He's the best player that I've ever played with. In 2007, when he first made it, and he was the best 15 in the world, who every day said he wanted to play 10. Like, it made no sense to me, but he was by a mile the best player I've ever seen. He could, a bit like Johnnie, could do anything and could smoke a guy in attack.
Yeah. He's the most skillful player. Like, you see some of the things he does, the little chips, the little pass at the back. And sometimes I'll just look and I'll just watch him. I'm like, okay, I need to catch up. You get to the ruck. But that's what you used to get, right? Even like Quade Cooper as well. He came over. He didn't have the best time, but he came over and he performed. Nico Sanchez, it goes on. The names goes on. So there was a lot of 10. But Johnnie he's in my mind. He'll always be the best 10 I've played with, and one of the guys who drove Toulon to become the team we were back then.
Funny enough, you mentioned Hernandez, Nico Sanchez and stuff, but the salary cap is never one of the strongest assets, right? It's never like one of the biggest things.
Hey, mate, we're all on 100 grand. That's it.
Exactly. With staying in top 14 bonuses of 200. I mean, fair play. You got to give it to him. Boudjellal. He actually never. I don't know, but he almost never cheated. He just twisted the rule because it was a shit rule. He just, whenever you gave him a rule, he just found all the different twigs. But who doesn't optimize their tax? Everybody does. Well, he just did it a million times better than everybody else.
Yeah, I can't say. I don't really know how he did or what he ever did, but to get the players he did, I think there's something about him. Whether you like him or not, it's like Marmite. Either you love it, you hate it, and he managed to get quite a lot of top players over there. Like, they got Joe Van Niekerk to come over there when they were in Pro D2. So that's saying something. And he was like not long after that, long before that, he was voted the Player of the Year, but that's the International Player of the Year. So it just tells you something of what kind of person Mourad is. And he did the best to get the best team he could to achieve what we did. So some place you've got to say, okay, fair play to him.
So I don't want to bring another downer on things, but you mentioned how when you came to the end of your time at London Irish, obviously you were not enjoying your rugby. And then I think you mentioned that towards the end of your time at Toulon, Mourad was linked with the fact that you were not liking rugby at all. So just talk to us about how that kind of panned out and kind of what led to you moving and whether you got reinvigorated after that.
Yeah, well, it's the same. Like, I just started falling out. We quite a few players left, guys who drove the team, and for me, it just started getting to the same way where I felt like I'd achieved everything that I could at Toulon. So I wanted more. I'm a guy who always want more. So for me, I thought the best thing is for me to move on and try and create history with someone else, because that's why that's why we play rugby. We want to leave a benchmark everywhere we go. So he kind of saw that, and he actually offered me 3 more years to stay, and I was like, I've got to be true to myself, and I always said the moment I stop loving the sport that I love, that I've like trained all my life for, and I always said, like, if I fall out of love with it, I need to move on or stop. And I don't think I want to stop there, because I still knew I had a lot left in me. So the best option was to move, and I had a few offers to go a few places.
Where?
Toulouse, Lyon, Montpellier, and Clermont was one of them as well. But I didn't want to go to Clermont because there's only only tires and the Michelin man. So apparently it's pretty dead there. So, but
see those little cliches that of when people don't know, eh? It's fine. It's easy. Listen, Clermont, we definitely did not have the same lifestyle as in Toulon. But even though we didn't show it, when we lost to Toulon, it's because we clearly got beaten by better. So there was, at the end of the day, it was always about respect. And I always feel that 2015 Champions Cup final in Twickenham, it's the first time in my life I got bullied. I got bullied by 15 dudes. They weren't particularly better. They never created anything, but it was just tough fuckers that just bullied people. And it was a really tough team. And well-deserved title. So it's not a problem. You could have come to Clermont, mate. I would have got a glass of wine for you. No problem.
I would have been, hey, should have. But I decided to go to Po. So with Carl Heyman told me to, he said, come with me. We're going to create something different. Like they've got a new project. And I always wanted to go somewhere different. I knew all the Toulon boys went to Lyon. And it was, to me, it would just be me moving, same thing, like, do you know what I mean, Toulon to Lyon, all the players there. So I wanted to separate myself and literally go to somewhere completely different where I could actually go start again and not have to not be comfortable. I wanted it to be difficult, and Po was that choice for me.
And you were there for a few years. So now you look back on it and you mentioned those offers that you had from Toulouse, Clermont, Lyon, and what those clubs have done in the past few years. Are there any regrets there at all, or are you happy with the decision you made?
Yeah, I'm happy with the decision. Definitely happy with the decision. So no regrets, whatever I've done in my career, because we actually got from being promoted from Pro to just about staying up in the top 40 in the year after, and missing out by 1 point in my first 2 years. Do you know what I mean? It was something massive for the club because they've never been that close to it. So I think we did have something good. We had a great bunch of players, not particularly big names, but a lot of players who had a lot of fight and who wanted to play rugby because they loved it, and that's why I enjoyed it, and I wouldn't have any regrets on it.
So talk to us about you went there because of Carl Heyman. Talk to us about, you obviously had a good relationship with him at Toulon and then at Po as well. Like what was he like as a coach, and obviously from playing with him to then him being a coach, like how was that transition?
Oh, I think for him it was quite difficult because he's always been a rugby player, and from being at a place where you've played rugby to becoming a coach where you still got your mates and stuff like that, it's kind of hard to kind of separate that coaching with your mates and stuff like that. So I think it's a bit difficult because I don't think he actually wanted to stop. I don't know, I don't think he actually wanted to stop because he was still the fittest guys. He'll do fitness with us, and he'll be smoking everyone in fitness. No matter what we're doing, he's still like the strongest guy, like one of the strongest guys and the fittest guys I know. And I just think maybe he still wanted to play, so it made it a lot tougher becoming a coach.
And then obviously you're now in Biarritz, still in France, but you were going to go over to America, to the sun and the sand of California, as opposed to the south of France. So that was going to be San Diego Legion. I think they've signed Chris Robshaw now.
Yeah, Chris Robshaw, Eddie Jones is going there as well, I think.
Yeah, as a consultant. I mean, obviously, I think you're in a good place now, but in terms of how that move kind of fell apart, is there any kind of ill feeling there at all, or are you just really happy to be at Biarritz? No,
not at all. And I've got loads of mates over there. Like I got Martin on it to go over there, and it's, do you know what I mean? It's something different. Maybe in a few years' time, when it's when it's the league is a lot more accomplished, when it's a better. But at the moment, I just feel it's like you don't know which way the league's going to go. You are getting like good players going over there, but I'm so glad the decision was to stay in France, because there again I'm finding the love of rugby again, and it's enjoyable.
In terms of the project they've got going on, obviously you've come down, big name, Francis Saili as well, Henry Spate, some big investment. What are the expectations from the board, from the president, Al DJ, who's come on board for this season? What are your hopes and what are you aiming for this year?
Well, he called me into the office. He was like, listen, there's only one outcome to this, and we're champions in top 14. Otherwise, you're gone. I was like, oh, what? Hold on, take that back. It's like, listen, we've got a 2-year project, and that's going to be us getting up to the top 14, new stadium, new facility and stuff like that. Obviously, there's stuff going on with planning and stuff like that, with him trying to get the permission and stuff like that. So I don't really know the ins and out about it, but I know there's a massive, massive project to obviously. They want Biarritz to become the Biarritz of 2011, is it? 2011, 2012? Before they went down, a team who's had all the names, and they were an outstanding team. So that's what they want to bring back. They want to bring back a team that everyone's proud of and everyone wants to come and see, because it's kind of fallen away lately in the past few years, and they just want it all to come back.
Honestly, there could be a show written just on Biarritz Bayonne, because it's everything that we want to chat about. Honestly, in this thing is all the myths and the buzz and the exoticism of French rugby. So there's a mix of ancestral rivalry between two sort of neighboring big villages. You can't even call them massive towns, big villages that hate each other's guts. But they don't really hate each other's guts. It's still like rugby rivalry, It's banter you love that derby and stuff, but they'll still be drinking piss together afterwards. It's got nothing to do with it. But then you mentioned the whole project of Biarritz and stuff. I just read, it's just that for me, that sums it up for you, that the mayor of Biarritz was forced to buy her own ticket to come to the game.
Yeah.
Because she's basically they're being complicated with the planning permission to extend not necessarily the stadium, but what do you do with everything's around?
Yeah.
He wants to create, which I don't know the bloke Al DJ at all, but I think what he wants to do is create sort of an actual real economy behind to support the club, which I think is what every club should do, instead of relying on massive sponsors. But then it's who gets the biggest share. Biarritz is a small place, yes, but property there is hot. So you got to know what you're doing. And so to the point where he sacked a few sponsors, he hates the thing and it's politics, but she still comes to the game, but she makes sure that everybody knows that she paid for her own little ticket. That's France for you. That's Biarritz for you.
Yeah, and I try and keep out of it, because I get so many people like asking. So we got my neighbours. So 1, 2, 3, 4, all of them are Bayonne supporters. So they saw me move in and they were like, oh, so have you moved to play for Bayonne? I was like, no. I was like, why? He goes, we're like a lifetime members of Bayonne. I was like, oh, okay. I moved for Biarritz, and one of them just turned around and walked off. I was like, whoa, okay. Like, oh. And then all the others like, but don't worry, next year you can move to Bayonne, but we don't like Biarritz. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, what's the problem? You guys is the same town anyway. And they looked at me like I was crazy.
Blasphemy.
And that's when I realized, don't ever say that ever again. So they're separate, and even though they're touching, they're separate. But it's weird. It's weird.
And Steffon, hopefully you've got a bit more time left playing yet, but obviously once you get to the kind of age that you're at now, everyone's looking at what they're going to do after rugby. So just give us an insight. Are the family settled in France? Are you going to stay there once you finish playing? And what are you going to do next? Do you want to stay involved in rugby or not?
Yeah, I think as much as quite a lot of people say, once I finish rugby, I just want to get out of it. I don't think, I might say it, but I don't think I can. So there will always be a part of me who will get involved in rugby. I want to be a sports advisor for young French players. Just getting themselves set up and just getting on the right track, like like kind of like a mental thing, like what to think about, because quite a lot of young players nowadays, they think, oh, life in rugby is or last for 10 years, 10, 15 years, when that's not the case. You could have guys who could be on a lot of money quickly and get injured, and they're finished, and then they don't actually know what they're doing. So then they go off and they have problems where depression, and don't want to say it, but that's why you get quite a lot of young kids committing suicide in rugby, in not just rugby, in every sport, because they haven't got someone to talk to. And that's the kind of thing I want to do. I want to be that middleman between the agents, their club, and them, to help them to make just life a lot easier. And so I could just be there to talk, because I have been through quite a lot in rugby, and I want to give back. And I think this is one of the best ways to do it, because I think quite a lot of players are just left on their own quite often, and that needs to stop.
And is that something that is a role that's already there in lots of French clubs or around France, or is that something that you think you'll have to kind of bang doors down and develop your own niche?
I think there is kind of, obviously we have Proval in France, but it's not the same, because Proval's looking after thousands and thousands of players. Sometimes that one kid just wants like an extra half an hour chat, and it's something like Proval sometimes can't do, because they've got so many people to actually look after as well. So it's all about just getting into it and just doing it, not having too many people, but just having the right amount where I could actually spend enough time to make sure that everything is covered, and by the time we finish that meeting, at least that everything is clear. And I think that's something we're going to push forward, and I think there's quite a few guys who I've played with, and who are quite keen to actually get involved with that, because, as I said before, I just think we need to give back as much as we can, because rugby has given us a hell of a lot, and we need to give it back.
That sounds really good. And thanks ever so much for joining us today, Steffon. And good luck with that post-career. But more importantly, first, you better win promotion from Pro de Deux, otherwise there's going to be some trouble by the sounds of it.
Yeah, otherwise I'm coming to work for you guys, if that's okay.
Yeah. You're welcome back anytime.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Steffon.
Cheers, Steph. Thanks a lot.